Hello everyone, I'm Jeff Gudman, the Republican candidate for state treasurer. I want to thank everyone who sent in money to my campaign. And as promised, I've got a children's story for you about the importance of planning for the future and saving money for that future. This is the story of the Berenstain Bears, The Trouble with Money. It's one of my favorite stories from my youth, and I'm looking forward to reading it to you now. Brother Bear and Sister Bear knew quite a lot about the ways of bear country. They knew where the most beautiful wildflowers grow. They knew where the wild berries were the thickest and the juiciest. They knew the best spot for watching sunrises and watching sunsets. They knew where all the best honey trees were. They even knew a very special place where you could almost always see a rainbow from a secret space behind the waterfall. But there were some things they didn't know very much about. One of the things Brother and Sister Bear did not know much about was money. They never bought anything sensible, and they hardly ever saved. Once in a while, Sister put money in her piggy bank, but she usually shook it out again before it had a chance to cool off from her little hand. Brother Bear didn't even have a piggy bank. Mama Bear was becoming concerned about the cubs' carefree, spendthrift ways with money. "I think Brother and Sister should have a regular allowance," she said one evening when she and Papa Bear were working on the family books. "An allowance?" said Papa. "Yes, so they can learn to use money sensibly, to save and to plan ahead." "Oh no," said Papa. "They're much too young for that sort of thing. Let them enjoy themselves. They have to worry about money soon enough. When they grow up, when they become grown-ups, then they can worry about it," he said with a sigh. But it was Papa who first lost patience with their carelessness about money. It happened one day when the cubs had been at a mall, spending some pennies a neighbor had given them for walking her dog. That was when they saw the new video game. It was called Astro Bear, and it looked very exciting. "A video game! At the mall!" Papa shouted. "You must think I'm made of money." The cubs thought no such thing, and when they pictured it, it seemed very strange. Mama could see that they were puzzled, and she explained, "Made of money is just a figure of speech, my dears." That's when the cubs realized that the situation was serious, because Papa Bear only used figures of speech when he was upset. "You must think money grows on trees," he shouted. Another figure of speech. "Video games indeed," he continued, becoming more and more upset. "There was no such thing as video games when I was a cub. I didn't know what money was until I was almost grown." "Precisely, my dear," interrupted Mama. "And that's why this might be a very good time to start Brother and Sister Bear on a regular allowance, so they can—" "Absolutely not!" roared Papa Bear, knocking over a chair. "They must earn their money. That's what life is all about. Working, earning money, saving for a rainy day." The cubs knew how really serious the situation must be. Papa Bear had used 3 figures of speech and knocked over a chair. They decided right then and there to mend their careless spendthrift ways. It turned out the cubs were very good at earning money, once they set their minds to it. First they gathered wild flowers from those special places they knew about. Then they made them into bouquets and sold them by the side of the road. They gathered those fat, juicy wild berries and sold them door to door. Business was very, very good. Brother and Sister Bear were turning out to be even better at making money than they had been at spending it. They organized guided tours of Bear Country's finest beauty spots. Sister's piggy bank was jammed full. They started a very successful pet minding business. Brother had to borrow Mama's sugar bowl to keep the extra money in. At first, Papa Bear was very impressed and pleased. But when the cubs started to sell maps showing the locations of all the best honey trees, Papa Bear began to have doubts. "Those honey trees are a family secret," he complained. The Cubs don't seem to understand that some things are more important than money. They've gone from caring too little about money to caring too much about money. Why, just look at them. They're turning into greedy, selfish little misers right before our eyes," he continued. He pointed at the Cubs, who did indeed look like little misers greedily counting their money. "Cubs," said Papa Bear in his sternest voice, "we're going to have another talk." But before he could start his speech, the Cubs took all the money they had earned selling flowers and berries, doing chores, minding pets, and selling honeybee maps, and dumped it on his lap. "Here, Papa," said Brother, "this is for you." "That's right," said Sister. "We thought if we made some money for you, you wouldn't have to worry about it so much. We hope it's enough." Papa was so startled and so embarrassed at having been so wrong about them that he was speechless. "That's very generous," said Mama Bear. "It's quite a sum of money, and I know Papa appreciates it. But I have what may be a better idea. Papa does worry about money. Of course he does. Most Mama and Papa Bears do from time to time. But what Papa is really worried about is he wants to be sure that you understand that there's more to know about money than just to spend it." "You know what I think?" said Papa. "I think we should start Brother and Sister on a regular allowance so they can learn to use money sensibly, to save, to plan ahead." "An excellent idea," said Mama Bear, smiling. "What about the money we earned?" asked the Cubs. "You earned it," said Mama. "It's yours. What I suggest is that we take it down to the mall and put it into the Bear Country Bank." "Good suggestion," said Papa. "That money can be your nest egg." "Oh dear," cried the Cubs together. Another figure of speech. "And a very appropriate one," said Mama. She explained that the nest egg is the one that the farmer leaves in the nest to hatch another chick. When you put the money in the bank, it hatches interest. "Interest?" asked the Bears, puzzled. "The bank will pay you for leaving your money there. That's called interest." Papa ended up with the lowest score on the video game. "You know," he said, "we didn't have video games when I was a cub. Will you give me another chance at this sometime?" "Any time at all," said Brother and Sister, giving their Papa a great big hug. Thank you all for listening to this story of the Berenstain Bears and their family and the importance of learning about money. I'm Jeff Gudman, the Republican candidate for State Treasurer of Oregon.